I thought it was gonna be 2 books, one about Sandra and one about Joan, and then it occurred to me, like, "Wait, they exist in the same time and place. Wouldn't it be interesting to s and they're so different, wouldn't it be interesting to make them really close?" So in the case of Sandor, I'd written Master of the Revels, and I am a Shakespeare geek, and I knew that world really well. It was comforting to me in a way. The familiarity of it was soothing, and I didn't really want to leave it, and I thought about the fact that so in Master of the Revels, this is not a spoiler, nor is it original. There's a female who disguises herself as a boy in order to work in Shakespeare's theater, which is what Shakespeare in Love is about, which happens in Upstart Crow, the BBC TV series. There's just like that's not an original thing. It wasn't original with Shakespeare in Love. It's been around forever because in Shakespeare's plays, that's what's happening. Girls are disguising themselves as boys all the time. But the thing that has never really been given any screen time or page time is what about the actual boys that these girls are pretending to be? Like, what is it like to be one of them? So and then because I have nephews and the nephews are growing up and figuring out how to shift from being not men to being men, but like, what would it be like to be such a person and to be struggling with that transition? I'm just always interested in people struggling with whatever their status is in the world and figuring out where they belong. I never know where I belong. Maybe that's part of it. So that was Sanders' story. What happens to this person as he's shifting from being this famous child star to whatever comes next? And then independently with Joan, this is such a geeky thing on my part. I found myself during the Omicron surge stuck at home and really bored and wondering why the Greeks kept worshiping the gods of Olympus when they realized that there were no gods on Olympus. Like, it's not like someone went up there and looked around and went, nope, nothing here. And then the whole thing just fell apart. So I was curious about that. And I was doing a little rabbit hole search on Google and suddenly thought, what would I do if I didn't have access, not just to the internet, but to a library? And then I thought, like back in Shakespeare's time, where a girl would not have had access to those things, how would she have figured that out? How would people pursue knowledge when it's difficult to access it, which is becoming scarily a little prescient um, in the world in America right now, I fear. But anyway, so I was thinking about each of those, and then it suddenly occurred to me, if these two people met each other and knew each other really well, they could play off of each other a lot. I had originally envisioned it as a not a romantic triangle, but a triangle of good regard, that Sandor was falling in love with Joan. Joan was completely besotted with Francis Bacon's mind, which is all she cared about was learning. And then Bacon just had a huge crush on Sandor because Bacon probably did have a huge crush on Sandor in real life. Um, and then and then it became then the dynamic of that shifted as it became more about the complicated and evolving relationship between Joan and Sandor. Bacon mostly was there as a sort of a function to keep them each on their toes in different ways. So some scenes are from Joan's point of view, some scenes are from Sandor's. There's one really important scene near the end where I cheat, and it has to go back and forth between the two of them because otherwise you can't tell the story unless you know what's going on inside of both of their minds because they can't talk to each other even though they're in the same room together. When I'm writing third person narrative and then characters are speaking, the characters tell me how to talk. It's a really intuitive thing. I just trust the characters. There's an internal rhythm that I have no matter what genre I'm writing in and no matter what time period. And I know that it's there because other people tell me about it, but I can't hear it. It would be like trying to bite your own teeth or something. Like, it's there. I know it's there. Um, but I don't know how I do it or even what it is necessarily.